Next man up, 1025 The Game. Happy Friday, Nashville. Jake Lyman, joined by Max Herz from Preds Radio Live in studio. Parker Kelly at the controls. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Going to be a fun show today to wrap up the week. And we've got Max with us for the full first hour. And the Preds still on break, but we got a lot to talk about with Max. Olympics rolling on, semifinal games today, and the Preds are back just 6 days from now at Bridgestone Arena, so a lot to get into here.
Yeah, Preds are back practicing. If anybody's driving around this morning, there will be a practice at 10:30 at Centennial Sportsplex that is open to fans.
Love it. I saw they did like a kind of mini Olympics, right? It was the Americans, the Ontario group, and then everybody else, right? I saw somebody tweeted about that. It was either you or Alex Doherty.
Well, our group is way less diverse internationally right. Without our 4 European Olympians. So we have there's 17 players right now who are here, and only 2 of them are from Europe, so they couldn't do a Team Europe. But yeah, Ontario became its own country.
There you go.
When you have Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos, Luke Evangelista, and Michael Bunting, those are the Preds' best offensive players who are here right now. So they got it done, a little half-ice 3-on-3. So that was fun yesterday at practice, and you never know what they're going to pull out. So yeah,
I love it. Excited for the Preds to get back on the ice, taking on the Blackhawks next Thursday to come back out of the Olympic break. We're going to talk a lot of Olympics. I do want to, before we get going on hockey, send our condolences to the Rucker family. I know the reporting coming out this morning, Wes Rucker, longtime reporter, Tennessee Athletics, passed away in a car crash yesterday. So was hoping it was just horrible rumors yesterday, but the reporting came out this morning that it is true. And so I did not know him personally. Parker, I know you follow Tennessee Athletics. I don't know if you ever got a chance to meet him, but just sending our condolences, our thoughts and prayers over to their family, and just horrible events out there in Knoxville yesterday. So I just wanted to say that. And again, as Robbie and Joe said at the end of their show, we will try and pass along any information that we have about GoFundMe or anything if anybody wants to try and help out. So I did want to start there. Just horrible news yesterday, and keeping them in our thoughts and prayers. And we'll continue to talk through that later on in the show as well. But let's talk some hockey here, Max. It is a big day. And actually, let's start by going backwards. The last 2 days of hockey have just been absolutely phenomenal. The quarterfinal games, I listened to Smashville Live, and I know you were talking with Barry Trotz about how about 3 overtime games in the quarterfinals. And then yesterday, the women's team comes back, scores in the final minutes to tie it, send it to overtime, and just a ridiculous goal from Megan Keller to give the USA the gold. Awesome days of hockey, and hoping it continues through the weekend.
The men's Olympic hockey tournament, I feel like every game has been closer than it should have been on paper.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Then all of a sudden you get the elimination games, and every game's going to overtime. And the favorites won in all of them, which is the crazy part. Like, these teams are able to push the big dogs to overtime, backs against the wall, and none of them were able to get the overtime goal.
It was crazy watching the Canada-Czechia game on Wednesday, where it's like, man, it looked like Czechia had him on the ropes. And I know they scored that goal with 6 on the ice, but they didn't catch it. It's not cheating if they don't catch it.
It's unbelievable that none of the players or coaches from Canada noticed.
I know. And watching the celebration when they all meet on the glass after the goal, and there's 6 of them in there. And it's like, I don't know how nobody caught that until after it happened. But that was an unbelievable game. Would have been crazy to see the Canadians go down in the quarterfinals. They were able to just barely do enough to get it to overtime and then obviously win. And the Americans against Sweden, there was some tense moments there sitting on my couch watching that game after they gave up the goal in the final 2 minutes. But like you said, all the favorites tested were able to sneak through and get onto the semifinals. Sets up some really great games today.
Yeah, and Slovakia is no joke.
No.
That is going to be an interesting matchup for Team USA. I like Robbie's confidence that they will win 5-1 that he said half an hour ago here. I think that is definitely within play. But look, these games have all been so close. I don't think you can expect anything like that. And for the women's gold medal game, that whole tournament, even in the first USA-Canada game, USA just killed everybody.
Yeah.
And you knew the final was not going to be like that.
Right.
Marie-Philippe Poulin didn't play in the prelims game for Canada USA, and the USA won what, 4-0?
Sounds right. Yeah.
But you knew that gold medal game was going to be so close, and Canada locked it down. Like these teams play each other 10 times a year, so it's more of a team matchup, like
Right.
with real game planning
Yeah.
than the men's all-star team type situation is. And the USA has owned Canada, and Canada knows this was their big shot to get back at them. And look, they almost won that game. I felt very confident that USA had a game tying goal in them. And then overtime, I don't think there were really any great chances before the goal. And look, that was one of the biggest goals in USA hockey history for Megan Keller. That was a dirty goal.
Right.
Oh my God.
What a way to win the gold medal. Like, not only scoring the game-winning goal, but doing it the way that she did. That was awesome.
Yeah, and the Canadian defender that she dog walked is Claire Thompson, who's one of their best D. Like, I mean, anybody who's on the ice in overtime in the gold medal game is going to be an all-world player, but like to do that in that moment. And Keller's a defenseman too. And Kenny Albert made great note of that on the broadcast as soon as it happened, that this is a defenseman up front on 3-on-3. And that's what USA hockey is right now. I think for the men and the women, but especially the women's team, like for that 3-on-3, for that shift, it was positionless hockey. They took what they were given and they scored a massive goal. So it was unbelievably fun. And I'm glad so many people got to watch that. Because the other games of the women's tournament, like, were almost too easy.
Yes,
and
they were just
you
cruising.
knew that game was what they were saving it for. And they played amazing.
Your thoughts in general on 3-on-3 for a gold medal? I think 3-on-3 is fine throughout the tournament, but I think once you get to the gold medal game, you got to play 5-on-5 till somebody scores.
I'm fine with it. I really like 3-on-3. We've talked about this before. I really like shootouts also. Shootouts for a gold medal is a little too much. But for regular season, I have no problem with shootouts. The one interesting thing that I saw tweeted yesterday, like, there should be a separate event of 3-on-3 hockey at the Olympics.
There should.
Like,
I mean, they're doing it for basketball now. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be really, it might be the same players, which might present an issue. Or if it's different players, I don't know. Like,
maybe could you do it where like the NHL players can play in the 5-on-5, but you have to use amateurs for 3-on-3? Like that. I think that's kind of how it's been done in the past. Well, maybe not amateurs, but I know for basketball, it is different players that they use for the 3-on-3 versus the actual team basketball. So now that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I kind of like it.
It would probably be on a smaller rink, I guess. I don't know, but
yeah.
I never thought about it as its own event, but I think that'd be awesome.
You should. I'm sure you've played ones in Chell. Could we get that? That's my favorite game mode on Chell, is just like the little half rink and just go around hitting people, and one goalie playing against 3 skaters. I love it. Let's make that an Olympic event.
And you can control Team USA.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Today, I think we are set up for a great day of hockey. I am with Robbie a little bit of Canada and the US both got their scares on Wednesday. I do wonder if maybe there's all right, let's lock in. We've got to figure this out. But you just never know in these types of games. Slovakia and Finland are both filled with NHL players. I'm excited to see how this turns out. We've got Canada and Finland coming up in right about 30 minutes, and then the USA and Slovakia coming up in the afternoon. We're one step away from that vaunted Canada-US gold medal game. Do you think we get there?
Yeah, I mean, until one of them loses, like, we've all known it's coming the entire time. So, and Canada had their scare. I do think Canada is the tougher matchup today. I think Finland is loaded, and if Alexander Barkov weren't hurt long term, I think Finland would have been right up there with USA and Canada as favorites in the tournament. Like, they are a really good team. They're not deep on defense, but you just ride Lindell and Heiskanen as much as you possibly can. I am a massive Nico Mikkola fan. I know he is a flawed player in a lot of ways, but like, I love him in an Olympic playoff game. And there's a reason the Panthers just gave him a big contract. Like, he's an awesome second pair defenseman for a tournament like this, where the physicality does happen. So I think he's a good player for them to have against Canada, but like if they get him an open ice against McKinnon, McDavid, Celebrini, then maybe you got problems. But I think it's going to be Lindell and Heiskanen playing 25, 30 minutes today. And obviously UC Saros is going to have a great game, and he's made a lot of saves. He's got a goals against average under 2, and they're going to need him to be huge against an all-star team times 10.
Yes. No Sidney Crosby today for the Canadians.
Oh, is that official
Yes,
now?
he is
Okay.
out. So
Thank
Connor McDavid is going to put the C on today. No Sidney Crosby, but yes, it's going to be a tough test for UC Saros, one of 2 Predators playing in that game. Eric Halla also playing for the Finns. When we come back, we'll talk about the Predators and how they performed around the Olympics. Of course, those 2 still playing. Roman Josi falling to Finland in the quarterfinal matchup, and Philip Forsberg falling to the Americans in the quarterfinals back on Wednesday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call if you have any thoughts, questions for Max. We'll get to those throughout the first hour of the show. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Max Herz from Preds Radio, Parker Kelly with you on your Friday morning. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game. Jake Lyman, Max Hers, Parker Kelly with you. Max with us for the full first hour, talking Olympic hockey. We'll get into the Preds in a little bit here as well. Hoping to hear Freebird a couple of times today. U.S. taking on Slovakia for a spot in the gold medal game. 2:10 puck drop in the second semifinal. We are getting close to the start of semifinal number 1. Canada and Finland coming up around 9:40, and two Predators playing in that game. UC Saros, Eric Haula, and for Saros, it was a slow start for him in the first game against it was Slovakia.
Yeah.
Did not have his best stuff in that game. But I think outside of maybe a couple of bad moments, he didn't have a great play against Switzerland where he kind of threw the puck behind right to a defender and ended up, or to a forward and ended up giving up the goal. But overall, I think UC Saros has bounced back well after a slow start.
Well, if nothing else, he's used to starting down 1-0, 2-0, and then
true.
letting his team come back. So he's just getting it right in his wheelhouse there. Yeah, I think the worry was that if they lost the first game, for me personally, I was worried that if they lost the first game, that he wouldn't keep playing.
Yeah.
And he's played every game. So they've ridden him. And look, you've seen with Sweden and what happened with Philip Forsberg. Like, these coaches have got different guys who are in and out of favor based on how they've played in previous tournaments. And Saros did not survive the entire Four Nations. Kevin Lankinen ended up starting one of those games. So that was why I was worried that if he lost the first game, regardless of what his personal performance was like, that they would change it up. And they haven't done that. They know he's their number one, and maybe it would be different if Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen weren't hurt, because I think he would have been the number 2.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't even been Lankinen backing up every game. Korpisalo has backed up some. So no, he's their guy. It would have been foolish to go away from him.
Yeah.
And look, today is one of the biggest games of UC Saros' life, if not the biggest, going up against Team Canada.
Can guarantee himself a medal if they win. And I think that's why I think everybody kind of wants the Canada-US game. But for us around here who follow the Preds, it's like, I'm good either way. Finland wins, makes it maybe a little bit easier for the U.S., and one way or the other, either the U.S. is winning a gold medal or like UC Saros and Eric Haula are bringing gold medals back to Nashville. So I'll be rooting for the Finns in this game. I know I want U.S. Canada too, but like, I'd be okay with the Finns upsetting the Canadians today.
Yeah, I think a lot of us would have liked to see Czechia pull it off the other day too. So
yeah,
it's fun to root for the upsets in this, and not that who we're cheering for affects the game at all, but I really like Finland. So I think they've got a shot here. And I think Eric Haula has shown really, really well, which I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Look, he plays his game. I think Haula has been a great pickup for the Preds this year. I've been very pleasantly surprised with everything that he's brought to the table. And I think he's on an expiring contract. I think if the Preds do choose to trade him, I think he's a player a lot of teams would want to be a middle 6 center for a playoff run this year. So I think he's given the Preds everything they could ask for and more. He was not supposed to be the second line center. He's become the second line center, and it's happened with the Finnish national team too. He just keeps commanding minutes. He plays really important minutes. He's involved offensively, and obviously he does a ton of penalty killing, which is his main job: faceoffs, PK, D-zone, but he does a little bit of everything.
Haula and Saros playing to get into the gold medal match today against Canada. And two other Predators, of course, Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, also competing over there. Both fell on Wednesday to end their tournament run. We'll start with Roman Josi. I thought overall, Josi, from what I saw, I didn't. Some of their games were at the 5 a.m. puck drop, so I didn't wake up for all of them. But I did enjoy seeing Roman Josi out there. I thought he played well. He scored against Italy in the playoff game to get into the quarterfinals. But the Swiss team, we kind of talked about it. Like, there are NHL players and good NHL players on the Swiss team, but they don't quite have the depth that some of the other European teams, the Canadians, the Americans have.
Yeah, but they are a team, and they're coached year round in a lot of ways, even with the NHLers there. Like, those guys are at world championships every chance they can get. And it shows. I mean, they punched above their weight. And once Fiala got hurt, you thought they might not have enough offensively, but Timo Meier really stepped up. I thought he played incredibly well. And I I mean, they were at the point where they really only had one forward line of NHLers after Fiala got
Yeah.
injured. And Heishier was as good as you would expect. Yossi had the puck a ton. Niederreiter played great, and they really deserved to beat Finland the other day. And ended up losing that game late, which I think was disappointing because
Yeah.
I made a prediction that they would be the surprise bronze medalists, and I was pretty close to getting that right. And I did realize yesterday that my men's medal prediction actually ended up being the correct women's medal prediction. So we're going to say that was my prediction for
There you
both
go.
tournaments.
So you got, USA, Canada, Switzerland. We'll say that you got it right. And honestly, you're right. You're up 2-0 in that game and you win. All you got to do is not go 0-2 and you win a medal. Like that's what's great about once you get to the semifinals. So a good chance for UC Saros, Eric Holla to come back with some hardware, even if they aren't able to beat the Canadians today. Philip Forsberg was kind of a focal point around here during the Olympics. And it was strange the way he didn't play early. And I know that there's been some complaints about the way the Swedish coach kind of maneuvers his lineup. It was it Jesper Bratt who was the extra skater on Wednesday against the U.S. and didn't get a shift until the third period. A little bit strange how he does that, but Forsberg increased his minutes on the ice every single game leading up to that loss to the U.S. on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it ends up being a better story, more positive because of that. Yeah, I don't know what. No, and nobody knows.
It was very strange to see
what kept Phil from playing
the
more.
tweets of like putting out the lines, and it's like Forsberg sitting at the bottom, and I'm like,
yeah,
really? He's not one of your best 12 forwards.
Yeah, it's I mean, the good thing was it wasn't just like Preds people going crazy about it on Twitter. Like everybody knows how ridiculous this is.
Yeah.
For the leading scorer in Preds franchise history to not be playing more. And I mean, as soon as they started playing, he started producing. So, yeah, I think it ended up okay. It seems like everybody in Sweden is really unhappy with this coach. So we'll see if they make a change. But yeah, I don't know. There's nothing really else to say. But it's funny. Steven Stamkos got asked about it. He was like, yeah, I'm not too involved in the Swedish national team decisions, but I think it's weird.
Steven Stamkos isn't consulted on all that?
He should be. He would have been able to figure it out more easily.
Right. It's probably true. So the Predators sending 4 over there. Good chance to possibly take some medals back to Smashville. UC Saros and Eric Holla taking on Canada in about 20 minutes over there in Milan. You did mention Kevin Fiala, and before we move on and actually talk about the Predators, how do you think his injury maybe affects the way that NHL teams view using their players in the Olympics? Because I know that's been a big discussion of the injury risk is obviously large when you send your players over there. Do you think this could mean that maybe we don't get NHLers again when the Olympics return in 2030?
Well, I think there's already a chance that it doesn't happen again.
Yep.
The league was not too crazy about it to begin with, but I think if it were just Fiala, I don't think it would have been enough. But I think once Crosby gets hurt, then it becomes something.
True. Yeah, and he's not playing today. We don't know how serious it is. I believe they announced that it may not be long enough to keep him out for the entire tournament, so he could be back for the gold medal match.
It looked really serious.
It did not look good, but they did not rule him out for the entire tournament. So a chance he could be back on Sunday in the gold medal game. It'll be interesting. I understand both sides of it. Like, you don't want to stop these guys from representing their country, but also you have investments in these players, right? And like, you don't want to lose a key piece of a championship type team in a game that doesn't count for your hockey team, right? We're seeing it with the World Baseball Classic right now, of all these players having to get insurance to be able to play in the World Baseball Classic because teams are worried that they're going to lose a player for the entire season. So it is something that has to be dealt with over the next couple of years.
Yeah, first of all, I'm behind on that story, so you'll have to tell me not on the radio what is. I know the basics of it.
Yeah, I'm not like super in tune with it, but I know that like guys have been getting denied insurance policies that would cover them if they get injured in the World Baseball Classic.
and the team wants them to be denied.
I don't know.
They're
I
MLB
think,
teams.
yeah, I'm not 100. We'll look at it during the break, and maybe I know that that's been an issue though. Is like guys are worried to commit to the team before they're insured because they don't want. Maybe the team has a clause in their contract of like, if you get injured not playing for our team, we're not going to pay you.
Well, I saw, was it Carlos Correa? Bad Bunny said he was going to pay somebody's insurance, and MLB was like, "This isn't a good idea." Was it Correa?
It might
I
have
forget who
been.
it was.
I mean, yeah, that would make sense. World Baseball Classic is going to be a lot of fun, but that obviously this is an issue across all sports. Is like you have investments in these players, and when they're playing and it's not part of your organization, there's going to be issues with
Yeah.
whether they have to pay you.
Well, one other thing I'd thought about was, could the NHL play a few games during this and just say like what happens with MLS? Like the players are on international duty, they still got to play a little
Right.
bit without those guys. And look, the Preds weren't one of these teams, but looking at reporters tweeting like, "Here's who's at practice today," the first practice back for some other teams, I was like, I don't think they can play a game like that. The Preds would be okay because they have the majority of their top six. I mean, they're missing their goalie, obviously.
Right.
But like you could use the backup goalie for every team who has a goalie in the Olympic. I don't think there's any team that has
Both.
two goalies
Yeah.
in the Olympics. That I can think of.
Let the Preds play the Oilers during the international break. No McDavid, no Draisaitl.
Yeah, let's schedule those guys right now.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We are just over 10 minutes away from getting back on the ice for Olympic hockey. Finland and Canada in the first of two semifinals today. We'll keep you updated on how that game's going throughout the morning. Today, Vanderbilt Baseball hosts Marist at Hawkins Field at 2 p.m. You can catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app with pregame coverage starting at 1:45. Coverage is presented by Gary Force Acura, and we will be joined later in the show by the voice of the Vandy Boys, Andrew Allegretta. He will come on at 11 o'clock. We'll talk about the start to the season for Vanderbilt and what to look for this weekend against Marist. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Max Hers, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Max Herz, Parker Kelly with you. We got Max for 30 more minutes here talking hockey. Olympic hockey continuing today. 2 semifinals, Finland and Canada, just 10 minutes away. The U.S. and Slovakia this afternoon. Gold medal game is set for early one, 7 a.m. on Sunday, which I guess Max and I are both pleased about. I don't know when you have to get over to Memorial on Sunday, but I will actually be able to watch it before shoot around, which will be great. I was worried it was going to be like mid-morning.
It's the same time it always is. People are mad that it's so early, but the closing ceremony is always that night.
Right.
So that's presumably at noon or 1 Nashville time.
Yeah.
So it has to be early.
Right.
Are the Olympics done for good on Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the men's hockey final, I think, is the last event.
Okay.
Wow.
There are a few things before that on the real early side Sunday. Curling just never ends.
I know. I was about to say, it is crazy how much curling there is in the Olympics, because I feel like every morning I turn on this TV and there is some sort of curling on. It's still going on. The U.S. and Switzerland are, they're coming down to the wire here.
They've been playing since yesterday.
Wow, look at this formation we've got.
This is the semifinal. Oh, yeah, they've got that's
3,
pretty
2,
good
1.
for the U.S.
I'm making that up. I don't know anything about curling. I know the rules, but I have every time I watch, I'm like, this is the strategy for this.
This is the 10th end. This is it. So the U.S. trying to tie it and get into the gold medal game.
Well, we're losing and we don't have the hammer, so that does not bode well.
What does the hammer mean?
You go last.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. It
is hard to score in a round where you don't have the hammer, I believe.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
I may be saying incorrect information, but that's my understanding.
Anyway, yes, the Olympics wrapping up this weekend, and excited for the 2 hockey games today and then the gold medal game coming up on Sunday, but also excited because NHL hockey returns next week. The Predators back on the ice at Bridgestone Arena on Thursday, taking on the Blackhawks, and they really don't give you a whole lot of a ramp-up period here. The Preds come back Thursday and play 5 games in 7 days, all before the trade deadline. So this is going to get fast and furious quickly for the Preds. 4 points out of a playoff spot as it stands right now, and trying to prove to Barry Trotz in the front office that he does not need to sell off too much of this roster coming up towards the trade deadline.
Yeah, and it's interesting games. The Blackhawks are, I think, the team with the fewest Olympians. I think they only have 1. I think Teravainen is their only one. So they're going to have a whole week of practice together.
Right.
So you think that could play into their advantage. But you never know coming off a long break. And it's not like the Preds have a huge group coming back like the Panthers or the Avalanche do. But I mean, if Finland plays on Sunday, if they win today and they play Sunday, and either way, they're playing again tomorrow. I don't think Saros would be back in practice until Wednesday. And I think it would probably be the responsible thing to do to not play him in the first game back. So, and I think a lot of other teams are going to have to make decisions like that with guys coming with all the games they've played over there and overseas travel. So, Blackhawks are always a tough game. Hawks have played the Preds pretty well this year. I like where they're at right now in their build. They have some intriguing young guys. I think they could be in a different place if they had gone with a forward instead of Artem Levshinov, but Levshinov is starting to prove himself on the back end. I don't think he's a big name player yet for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, Preds Blackhawks always going to be a great game. So that's a great one to come back with, be on home ice. And then 2 Saturdays from now, the Preds are in Dallas against the Stars, who are one of the best teams in the league. That is also going to be a mom's trip for the Preds next week. So we'll have some Preds moms in town next week, and they'll head to Dallas. It's the first time in a long time the Preds have had a mom's trip instead of a dad's trip. So looking forward to that. And then they come back home. I want everybody to know there is a Monday afternoon game.
Right. Is it a 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock
puck drop against Detroit?
Monday, March 2nd, 2 Mondays from now. That game was the NHL approached the Preds and asked, hey, this is coming out of the Olympics. Would you guys be interested in this so we can have a true televised showcase game in Europe?
Oh, awesome.
On teams with your prominent European Olympians. So it's a spotlight, Moritz Seider, Roman Josi, and on down from there on both those teams. And from a hockey perspective, the Preds were interested. One, because
It's a back-to-back, right?
yeah. So the next day the Preds play in Columbus, and the Blue Jackets do not have a back-to-back, so it helps them rest and travel wise. But also the Preds are always really receptive to ideas from the NHL, and that's why they've been to Europe twice in the last 4 years. That's why they've been in a road outdoor game and a home outdoor game. That's why they've had 2 drafts. That's why they've had an all-star game. So
Right.
I would encourage people, first of all, no one works anymore anyway, right? As the old people say.
Yep.
1:00 on Monday, March 2nd. Skip whatever you do
You
for
can
your
get
job.
a half day.
Yeah. Come to the game. Because if it does show well, I think this is something that could stick in the future. And I actually think it's a really good idea, but I think it's a good idea to put it on national TV in America.
Chase, if you're listening, I'm sick that day.
Yeah.
We actually,
Well, yeah, you're done at noon. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Parker, like we could.
I want to get there early.
We're gonna be leading right up to pregame coverage, so we'll pass it off to Max, and then we could just
you
head right
guys
over to Bridgestone.
Do your show at the arena.
Oh, we should.
Yeah,
we'll have to talk to Chase about that, and then we could just hang out for the game.
Yeah,
that'd be sweet.
Parker, I won't tell George.
I'll tell George. I'm sick that day, George.
Yeah, no, that'll be fun, and it's a great week of hockey leading up to the trade deadline. But these games are important. The Predators, again, 4 points out of a playoff spot right now. What kind of feel do you get for how important these games are going to be in terms of the trade deadline? Again, we've said it multiple times when you've been on. They're not going to be buyers. They're going to be more sellers. It's just the extent of how much they're going to sell, and that probably depends on where they stand in terms of the playoff spot over the next week or so.
I think the level of offers that come from other teams is what decides it the most, actually, more than how the Preds perform. I think the Preds have shown everything they can be. And honestly, I think even if they won those games, if they win every game, if they go 5-0, like I don't think it proves anything they haven't already proven. You know, I think they've shown that this group is performing at its peak, and you know that it can always get better come playoff time. But I think that it's based on the level of the offers received.
Yeah.
So that falls more on other teams. And Barry Trotz said on the radio earlier this week that nobody really wants to do anything yet. It could be a crazy last week before the deadline.
That's why the deadline leads to so many trades. It's like these teams want to wait so long to see what they need and how aggressive they need to be to go get it, right? And so I would guess it'll probably be a flurry of moves if they do make them towards the very end. And is it March 6th is the trade deadline, that Friday?
Yeah.
Okay. So coming up 2 weeks from today, the trade deadline, and I would fully expect to see some moves from the Preds. You mentioned Eric Haula, expiring contract, 1-year deal type guy. I could totally see them moving off him. Michael Bunting is another name that we've thrown around there. The big one, of course, is Ryan O'Reilly, and we'll have to see if that knock your socks off offer comes in for Barry Trotz, because he said that's what it's going to take if he's going to move on from the Factor.
Yeah, and I think he's one of the most valuable players in the league.
Yep.
So I think an offer like that, if you have multiple teams bidding, I think it could happen.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We've got one more segment with Max. We'll continue to talk about the Preds. Also had a special guest appearance on Smashville Live on Wednesday from Barry Trotz. We'll talk about some of the things that he said during that radio appearance as well. Jake Lyman, Max Herz from Preds Radio, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Max Herz, Parker Kelly with you. Olympic hockey semifinals are underway. Finland and Canada, 3 minutes in, still scoreless. We saw UC Saros make a nice little save there early on.
He just made another really good one. Jake has his back turned, unfortunately, because the good people at NBC have not put this game on actual television, so we only have it on one TV.
Yeah,
Saros has stopped Celebrini twice in the first 3 minutes.
Is it just on Peacock?
Right now, yes, is what it looks like.
Gosh.
So, yeah, man, what a combination to stop there. McDavid to Celebrini. Saros able to keep it scoreless early on. So we'll keep an eye on that throughout the show today. Winner to the gold medal game, the U.S. taking on Slovakia later on in the second semifinal. Do want to congratulate our good friend Adam Vingan over at DVD. He just tweeted out changing his bio that he is now a father of two, Arlo and Elizabeth.
Right.
So congratulations to Adam and their family over there, adding a new Vingan to the household.
Congrats to whatever listener it was. What was the name?
Elizabeth.
So we now know the one listener out there from DVD who texted in and got it correctly, who wins tickets because of it.
There you go.
But they weren't going to reveal who it was until after the baby was born.
Right. So we will have to see. But congratulations to Adam, great member of DVD, which is coming up at 3. I'm going to assume Adam will not be a part of DVD today. Spoiler alert.
He better be. Baby's born. It's 9:47. Shows at noon.
Right. You got almost 5. You got over 5 hours to get
Adam.
ready, Adam. No,
shows at 3. Yeah. What am I talking about?
Connor Newt is not going to be with us today because I believe he is filling in on DVD. So congratulations to Adam and the Vingan family.
I thought you were going to say Connor had a baby, which
that would be
not ready for that.
Yeah,
yet.
No, he is not. That would be tough. Anyway, wrapping up here with Max, we got a couple more minutes with Max Herz from Preds Radio. Max, you had Barry Trotz on Smashville Live on Wednesday, which I thought was awesome. I went back and listened to it, and some really good stuff from him. We've learned from Barry Trotz. He's a longtime coach, but there's no coach speak with him. He's going to tell you exactly what he's thinking. Some old stories about his time on the road. It was with Kenny Albert, right? Like that's who he was on the road with in minor league hockey. Like just great stories from Barry Trotz, along with all of the other stuff that, of course, that you get into about the Preds.
Well, this story is in Kenny Albert's biography, which came out, I think, last year, or autobiography, that Barry Trotz got him thrown into a Nova Scotian immigration prison when the Baltimore Skipjacks were going to play. I don't know. I think he said Cape Breton was where the team was at that point in the AHL or the IHL. But yeah, pretty funny. We were only talking about that because one of our fans brought a Barry Trotz card from the AHL or I guess it was the IHL.
Wow.
When he was coaching. Yeah, pretty cool that an AHL coach would have a card.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so that was a good poll. I think that was an eBay poll. But yeah, it was cool to, first of all, great crowd again at Smashville Live. We've had amazing crowds the last few months. We only have 2 shows left this year. Our next one, sadly, isn't until Wednesday, March 25th. But so down to 2, we've had 8 out of 10 for the whole season. But yeah, it was a really good occasion to get everybody together, talk through things with Barry Trotz, celebrate his legacy as he makes the announcement that he's retiring here. And we talked about a lot of memory lane Preds stuff. He also talked more detail than we'd heard about when he specifically decided.
Yes, that I was going to bring this up. That when it was the Sweden trip, that honestly was one that kind of opened his eyes. That hey, he's ready to be more around family and not miss quite as much as he has in the past.
Yeah, he said one of his granddaughters goes to something called World School, which sounds like the coolest thing ever. But I guess portions of his family travel so that his 5-year-old granddaughter can go to school in different countries, which is really, really cool. And I wish I could do that.
That sounds amazing.
I didn't know that existed. Yeah. But they're in Spain right now. So he took the opportunity after the Preds played in Sweden, instead of returning straight to Nashville with the team, he stayed back with family and was with his family for his granddaughter's 5th birthday. And he said with this granddaughter, it was only the 2nd time out of 5 birthdays she's had that he's been there. And flying back from that, he's like, you know what? It's not going to be 2 out of 6. So I really wanted to talk about that because he showed so much emotion in the press conference announcing his retirement,
Right.
but cut it off at the point where it was going to get more emotional because he didn't want it to be that type of day. So being able to talk about the specific moment with his family where he realized, hey, this is who I need to be with. I think it's great. And I think we have a really special chance over the next few months. And I mean, it'll extend beyond that because Barry Trotz will go into the Golden Hall and he'll still be around and he's staying in Nashville for sure.
Right.
But we've got a really special chance here to celebrate his legacy. And I think it's the perfect way to end it with him being part of choosing the next direction and being able to propel the Preds forward.
Yes, and it was great to hear from him again. Yeah, the story about going and seeing his granddaughter, and you're right. That's probably something he didn't want to get too deep into in the press conference, where it's like that kind of setting isn't where you can get emotional and really get into detail. But first off, World School sounds amazing, by the way. It's like I imagine like the semester at sea that's I've heard some people do. It's like they go to like it's like Sweet Life on Deck where you go and do school on a cruise
I think
ship.
semester at sea is like a year off on vacation.
Basically,
World school, it sounds like you're growing up, learn every language. Like that's useful.
Right. I mean, it's setting you up for success, right? You're not only learning what everybody else is learning, history and math and all this stuff, but you're learning different cultures and different languages. So anyway, thought that was cool to hear about, but also great to hear from Barry Trotz, the why for him, why it's important for him to step away now. And I'm excited for this GM search to ramp up. As Bill Haslam said, they've got their line in the water first. And I'm sure that these couple of weeks have been important for them, just laying the groundwork of this search. They've got plenty of time to go and find Barry Trotz's successor. But I think having this time off where you're not worried about games, you're not worried about all the hectic chaos that comes with being right in the middle of a hockey season, maybe has been good to allow them to set up a foundation for this general manager search.
Yeah, it's a rare moment where some of the candidates really are reachable.
Right.
Because otherwise it would be right before the trade deadline, and maybe it wouldn't be a good time to start soliciting resumes and calling people.
Yeah.
But with the transaction freeze going on, it's a great time for that. So as the team said, we're not really going to get formal updates, and they're going to try and keep information to a bare minimum, which I think is good because I think they're going to cast a really wide net. And if you were here, hey, this person has been contacted, like I think a lot of people are going to be contacted. So
right. You could compare it to the Titans head coaching search of, I think the Titans kind of wish they didn't have to put out all of the names that they interviewed. It's like,
is that an NFL rule?
Yes, you have to announce it because a lot of it's because of the Rooney rule. And like you have to interview in person a certain amount of minority candidates. But like, do you think the Titans wanted to put out there that they interviewed Jason Garrett for the head coaching job? I don't think so. So I'm sure with the Preds, like they did say, hey, we're telling you now that we're starting this search. The next time you hear from us is when we're introducing the next general manager of the Nashville Predators. And I think that's great. I
was going to say that an NFL team should just like interview a random person
Condoleezza
and put them
Rice.
on the list. Yeah, I was going to say, but that happened when the Browns interviewed Condoleezza Rice.
Well, I heard the story about that. I think it was Schefter was telling the story a couple of weeks ago where he said that he talked with somebody and they said, yeah, we're looking into interviewing Condoleezza Rice. And Schefter, before he reported it, texted the person and said, hey, you're serious about this? I can report this. And they said, yep, go ahead. Schefter reports it. And then 30 minutes later, the Browns come out and vehemently deny that they were ever going to do it, which is just,
they didn't actually interview her?
Yeah, they basically set him up for that. But anyway, yeah, that it's good for the Preds that, again, they're the first ones getting a look at these candidates, and you have Barry Trotz in place who as they said, Barry is going to do what's best for the Nashville Predators until they find his successor. And you get this amount of time to set it up. And as they said, hopefully before the draft, there will be a new general manager of the Nashville Predators.
And I've been thinking, like, are a lot of teams going to be changing GMs this summer? Like
I don't know.
The only one that I can think of that I think really should is Vancouver. I mean, it might be there might not be a lot of GM changes this offseason. But
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah,
You
I
never
don't know. And that's always a factor too, right? Is what other jobs are open, how many candidates are interested in taking a job like that. So it'll be an interesting offseason and down the stretch here for the Predators. Again, Nashville back in action on Thursday at Bridgestone Arena against the Chicago Blackhawks coming off this 3-week Olympic break. Finland and Canada about halfway through the first period. How about Finland out shooting Canada 7-3 at this point?
Good team.
Good team.
Honestly, if they had Barkov, I think they would have been a co-favorite with US and Canada. And also we need Russia back in this thing. Plain and simple.
Yeah. It'll happen at some point. Obviously, there's a lot going on there, but
I think the next Olympics they'll be back in, but I mean, I guess Ovechkin will play even if he's 80. But
right. 50-year-old Alex Ovechkin coming out on the ice. Max, always a pleasure having you in. We'll do it again next week when we will actually have some Nashville Predators hockey to talk about. So excited about that.
Yeah, we'll see everybody in Smashville on Thursday night.
Yes, Thursday night, Preds and Blackhawks back from the Olympic break. We'll take a quick break as well. When we come back, we'll talk some Titans. Want to ask the question, what is your bold prediction for the Titans offseason? We'll give ours coming up on the other side. Jake Lyman, Max Herz, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour on this Friday, Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Big thanks to Max Herz for joining us for the first hour. Always great insight on the Preds and, of course, Olympic hockey, which is underway today in the semifinals, Canada and Finland. The Finns just had a power play. Did not score, so still scoreless out there in Milan. And we will see if Finns can maybe pull off the upset, or are we getting closer to that Canadian and American gold medal game coming up on Sunday morning. Into the Titans here in hour number 2. We did this last year. I believe it was when I was filling in with Derek Mason right around this time. And we asked everybody, what is their bold take? Bold prediction for this Titans offseason. We got some really good answers last year. So I want to ask that question again. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Text or call with your bold prediction for the Titans offseason. This can be pretty much anything from trades to free agency to the draft. What do you think is something that maybe we aren't talking about that ends up happening for the Titans this offseason? I will start us off here, Parker. I think the Titans are going to make a couple of trades. And we focus mainly on the cap space, going to end up being probably $120 million or so. So there's going to be moves in free agency. You focus on the 4th overall pick as well. Lots of great players are going to be available for the Titans there, whether they go edge, whether they go wide receiver. But I was thinking about it last night when I wrote this down, and the Titans, when they sparked the rebuild in 2016, do you remember what the first kind of big move was from John Robinson, Parker?
When was this again?
2016. John Robinson had just taken over the job. He made one trade that I felt like was a big spark for the Titans getting back into playoff contention.
Years are running together for me. You're going to have to help me out.
DeMarco Murray. That was, they made a trade for a guy who the Eagles had kind of given up on. He had such a great year in his contract season with the Cowboys and earned himself a contract in Philly. It didn't go the way he expected it to, and the Titans made that trade. And DeMarco Murray was a really good player in 2016. He was a good player in 2017. And I would argue that Derrick Henry maybe never becomes Derrick Henry if he didn't have DeMarco Murray in front of him for the first couple of years. It was a trade that maybe in the moment didn't feel super sexy from John Robinson, right? It wasn't you're going out and getting a superstar to join your team. It was a reclamation project that a team had spent big value on, and he didn't live up to the hype. So I'm going to predict 2 trades. It's a bold take. It's a bold prediction. So I'm going to say they make both of them. It's probably more likely they don't make both of them. But I'm going to say the Titans go out and add a couple of reclamation projects, young, high-ceiling players who may be in need of a change of scenery. And we talked about one of them throughout the week, Keon Coleman. I think Keon Coleman is a good fit for what the Titans are trying to build. He is a young player who's shown flashes at times, but it's very clear things haven't worked out in Buffalo. Sean McDermott made him a healthy scratch a couple of times throughout the year. Terry Pegula, the owner, basically said that part of the reason they're firing Sean McDermott is because he wanted to draft Keon Coleman. So I think Keon Coleman, I think you could get him for a late pick, let's say 5th round, 6th round. I think you could do that. Maybe you have to throw in something else in there too. I don't know, but I like Keon Coleman as a trade target for the Titans this offseason.
I like that. And I would be totally okay with getting Keon Coleman if you give up a late pick. And I think an influx of wide receivers is very needed. And I kind of did this exercise of going through the free agent wide receivers yesterday. I really love Alec Pierce. That is the guy that I'm highest on and would love the Titans to bring in. I love Wan'Dale Robinson, love Juwan Jennings. My bold take is, and I agree with TD when he said this yesterday, because everybody assumes that Calvin Ridley is just going to be a clean cut this year. I think he's maintained on the roster.
Okay.
That's going to be my bold take, because not only the Brian Dable connection, I think that obviously is going to play a role in this. I still believe Calvin Ridley has, you're paying him way more than he's worth at this point in time, I'd say, but you just need veterans in there because you can't have so much newness. Alec Aomanor and Chim Dike, they're promising young rookies, but you need some veteran presence in there. And he had such a big impact on the mindset of those two young guys. I think he'll be carried over this year.
And you know what? I like that prediction because when we did the offseason simulation last week with Nick Frazier, the one thing that I looked at on the roster when we saw the depth chart was we need more wide receiver. And the Titans need a veteran presence in there. We went out and got Romeo Doubs and drafted Chris Bell, but it's like, man, there's nobody in there that can be the alpha of that room. And really all it might have taken is just keeping Calvin Ridley. Like if you had the cap room to do it. So instead of having Dobbs, Bell, DK, Aomanor, Oliver, you put Ridley in there too. I think that makes that a much deeper room and a room you feel more confident in heading into year 2 with Cam Ward.
And you can still go out and you can draft a guy. You can still go out and sign a guy in free agency. You can make the trade for Keon Coleman, bring those 3 guys in, and still have Ridley, Aomanor, and DK. And you feel so much better. It's a night and day difference from where you were last year in the wide receiver room.
So I said 2 trades. Keon Coleman, I think, is the less bold one. I think he is likely going to be out there on the market for the taking. Here is the guy I actually think the Titans might trade for. And you talked about the Brian Dable connection with Calvin Ridley. Brian Dable has a connection with a player on the other side of the ball, pass rusher, former top 5 pick out of Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeau. And I think he could be on the way out. The Giants have invested a lot in pass rush over the past few years. You trade for Brian Burns. You sign him to a long extension. You just drafted Abdul Carter, 3rd overall last year. Kayvon Thibodeau could be the odd man out in New York. I don't know what it would cost to get him. Like, is he on an expiring deal? I think this is the last year of his rookie contract.
It should be.
So if he's on an expiring deal, he hasn't really lived up to, I mean, he definitely has not lived up to the hype of being the 5th overall pick back in 2022. So I think he is going to be a guy out there on the market. You've got a new coaching staff coming in. You've got players on the edge. I think Kayvon Thibodeau ends up being traded. 23.5 sacks in his first 4 seasons in the NFL. He had 11.5 back in 2023. So the ability is there. I think the Titans trade for Kayvon Thibodeau, and he becomes that extra piece on the edge that you need. We said it with TD yesterday that even if you use the 4th pick on Bain or Bailey or Reese, you still need another pass rusher. You can't go into next season thinking Femi's going to be fine over there or Jalen Harrell's going to be fine over there. You need somebody who has proven they can play at the NFL level. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is another low-risk, high-reward type of guy you could get over there. And he has 1 more year left on his contract. I think they picked up the 5th-year option on him. So it would be kind of expensive for 1 year. But if he's not good, then guess what? You just let him walk in free agency next year. No harm, no foul. But if he does start to show that those traits and that ability that he showed to get him drafted 5th overall, you can tag him, you can extend him, and boom, you're set on the edge. It's $14.75 million for Kayvon Thibodeau this year. I think that is the move that I would make if I was the Titans on the edge. It depends on how much it would cost. I don't think it would cost all that much to get Kayvon Thibodeau. I think maybe your 4th round pick for Kayvon Thibodeau would make that happen. And that is I won't say a lottery ticket, but kind of. It's one of those guys.
It's good value.
Right. It's good value for somebody who clearly has talent. And if you can mold him into a starting level pass rusher, guess what? Now your edge group looks a whole lot better for the next 5 years if you end up extending him after this season.
Which, by the way, Finland just scored behind you.
Oh, there we go.
1-0
1-0
Finland.
Finland.
So, no, I like the Kayvon Thibodeau. I really liked him coming out of a school. And just, again, this is based on the scheme that Salah runs and based on the scheme that Gus Bradley is going to want to run. You need as many bodies, capable bodies at edge as possible. And, Jalen Harrell's fine. Jihad Ward probably going to bring back fine. You feel good about the interior of your defensive line. You don't feel comfortable running those guys out there for another year. You need to go out and acquire guys. That's why I think it's going to be Ruben Bain, the pick at 4. But you need Ruben Bain. You need guys like Kayvon. You just need bodies.
Yeah.
And also, too, if you have guys that can't get after the quarterback as well, that makes the secondary that much more important because you need guys to cover for a longer amount of time. So what I think is going to happen, I'm big on Alontae Taylor, bringing him in.
Yeah.
You could get him, the market value is around $11 million, which is good. And then you could go out and get a guy like Greg Newsome for $9 million. You could go out and bring both of them, and that's $20 million.
That's what TD said yesterday. And I don't hate the idea of just loading up in free agency on cornerbacks because you really don't have many bodies in that room. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We are asking for your bold predictions for the Titans offseason. We did this last year with D-Mace. I think we got some really good responses. So you can call or text 615-737-1025, our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll take your predictions coming up next. Again, my bold prediction, Titans build through trades. These aren't trades that give up top 100 picks, but you go get Kayvon Thibodeau and Keon Coleman. Parker says Calvin Ridley sticks around for another year. Send in your bold predictions. We will get to those coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up. 1025 The Game. Keeping the tradition going, even with Connor out.
We don't need Connor to continue White Girl Fridays.
Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you for the rest of the show. Max Herz was with us from Preds Radio in the first hour. So if you want your Preds fix, your Olympic hockey fix, you can find that on our podcast. Speaking of Olympic hockey, Finland up 1-0 at the end of one against Canada. So 40 minutes to go. Can Finland pull off the upset? The U.S. will take on Slovakia shortly after 2 p.m. Central Time today. We are asking you for your hot takes, bold predictions about the Titans offseason. What is something maybe a little off the wall that hasn't been talked about a ton that you think the Titans might do this offseason to try and improve this roster? 1382 on the text line says Eli Stowers gets drafted. He and Gunnar Helm will be an underrated tight end tandem. Interesting. And I know that Vandy fans would love that. Stowers is a highly touted draft prospect at tight end. I haven't seen him mocked as high as maybe he was early on in the year, which is strange because he had a good season. I don't know if the Titans can take a tight end where Stowers is being mocked. Like, I don't know if you can use any of your first 3 picks on a tight end. But again, this is bold predictions. It would be off the wall. And I wouldn't hate it because I think he is a playmaker. But I do just wonder of like, man, you've already got a young tight end that you're trying to build up to be your future guy at that position in Gunnar Helm. Would it make sense to spend another top 100 pick on a tight end with how many holes the Titans have on this team? I think that's the question.
Yeah, and with Eli Stowers, obviously, where we broadcast from, Middle Tennessee, there are going to be a lot of Vandy fans out there that would love Eli Stowers on the Titans. That is a luxury pick that the Titans do not have right now. And to be honest, I would try to re-sign Chig to a short-term deal, maybe a 1 to 2 year deal, because I feel like his presence in the passing game, if you just get him the ball and let him go in space, I think that could benefit the Titans a lot, and then continue to develop Gunnar Helm, who is just a good all-around young tight end. I think having that guy would be really great. And then I'm interested if you don't bring back Chig, which appears on the outside to not be the case. What about Kyle Pitts? What about David Njoku?
Yeah, and Njoku has said that he is not going back to Cleveland, so he is going to be out there. Kyle Pitts, there's thoughts that maybe he gets the franchise tag in Atlanta. I don't know, though. It wouldn't shock me if he hits the open market. Tight end is an interesting position, and I'm glad that the texter brought us there because it's not an urgent need. You do need a body in there. You need somebody who can be a playable tight end, I will say. Doesn't need to be a starting level tight end, but you need somebody who can be out there better than David Martin Robinson. DMR, I think, is a really good tight end 3. I don't think he can step up and be your tight end 2. But as we said yesterday with TD about Jackson Slater, right? We were talking about right guard and saying what the Titans do over the next month at right guard is going to tell us a ton about how that team feels about Jackson Slater, because Kevin Zeitler actually did play pretty well last season. We were saying that he gave up the lowest pressure rate among starting right guards last year. There are other solid right guard options on the market. We mentioned Wyatt Teller. If they don't go out and get a guy who can be a starting right guard, it tells you that they love Jackson Slater and think he's ready for that step. I think the same thing could be said about tight end with Gunnar Helm. What they do at tight end is going to tell you a lot about how this coaching staff and how this front office feels about Gunnar Helm. If they do go out and sign Kyle Pitts or David Njoku or Isaiah Likely, then I think you see that they're like, all right, Gunnar Helm's good, but he still needs a running mate, and he can't be the number 1 guy at that spot. But if they go out and sign a middle of the pack guy, who would be great, Parker, in free agency at tight end?
Who?
Jake Tonjes, the 49ers backup. Guy. Titans have had pretty good success signing backup tight ends who were behind stars from the 49ers, right? With Delaney Walker when he was behind Vernon Davis.
Weapon. He's a weapon.
So
Tonjes is a weapon.
I wouldn't hate that. He is a free agent, right?
I don't know.
I thought I saw that he was, but now I'm not seeing him on here. maybe not. Disappointing. I would have loved to get him in here. Yeah, it doesn't look like he is a free agent. Oh, he's a restricted free agent, so unlikely that he'd be available. But somebody of that vein, like Tyler Conklin coming over from the Chargers, that would be a guy that you sign. Adam Troutman from the Broncos. Like, that's a guy you sign, and you're like, hey, you're our backup tight end because we think Gunnar Helm is going to take a big stride. But they also could go big. And maybe, I think most likely it's probably somebody like Chig who can be that, I don't want to say change of pace because that's not really the right word, but like a different style of tight end than Gunnar Helm. I think Chig and Gunnar played off each other well last year. So it's probably more likely the Titans are going to do that again. Maybe it's Chig, maybe it's somebody else. And you have them split time out there and run some 2 tight end sets. But I am really interested to see what Mike Borgonzi does at tight end, because it will show us a lot about how he values Gunnar Helm heading into year 2.
You know, the quarterback has a lot of best friends, and having a good tight end is one of them. And I've been consistent on saying this, but you take a guy like Gunnar Helm, who was drafted at the same time that Cam Ward was. Gunnar Helm was the safety blanket for Quinn Ewers at Texas, and I believe that he can have the same level of impact with Cam Ward because they're growing together at the same time. They were drafted at the same time. But it also helps too to have a passing, a vertical, can stretch the field horizontally as well with Chig Okonkwo. He really improved his hands, I thought, because if you remember 2 seasons ago, he was dropping a lot. But when I was out at practice, I saw Chig Okonkwo consistently after practice on the jugs machines, catching extra footballs, and you could tell that that helped. But when they got him the football in space, he was such a weapon. And I believe the Titans could use a guy like that because we know he's not a great blocker, but he's a great pass catcher. Leave that to a guy like Gunnar Helm, who is a good and capable blocker, and maybe bring in somebody else that can help you in that area if need be.
Yeah, and tight end, one of the positions the Titans have to address in some way. It's just to what extent do you add to that room? Again, the texter saying Eli Stowers. I struggle to see the Titans picking a tight end with one of their first 3 picks. But Parker, since we got a couple minutes here, I'll tell you, I went with the trades for my bold prediction, but I almost picked this one in the draft, and Joe Rexroad will like it. I almost said the Titans will pick a tackle on day 2, because I think it's more likely than I think a lot of us are willing to put out there. And I wouldn't be thrilled about it because I do think your first 3 picks probably should be edge, wide receiver, cornerback in some order. You need young, talented players in those rooms. And yeah, you're going to supplement in free agency or in trades with all 3 of those positions because you need bodies at all of them, but you need young, controllable talent in all 3 of those rooms. But I was ready to make that my bold prediction, is that the Titans do take a tackle on day 2, because I do think it wouldn't be a horrible idea to bring in a guy who can be your swing tackle this year, learn behind Dan Moore, and then step in next year to be your left tackle. It wouldn't be a horrible idea. It's all going to depend on how the board falls. If there is a tackle that slips to 35 or 66 in the 3rd round that the Titans feel like can be a long-term solution at tackle, I wouldn't hate it. You do have to realize, though, if you do that, you have to address those other big need positions somewhere else in the draft, whether that's in the 4th round, whether you trade up to get back into the 3rd round. You have to find a way to get players in those 3 spots. But I would not be shocked if the Titans do end up taking an offensive tackle sometime early in the draft. Not at number 4, though.
I have this debate with Kelly all the time, Kelly Holcomb, and I think it's just a former NFL quarterback in him, but he wants guys to protect Cam Ward's blind side. And he always says that if you have a generational tackle, you take him, even if it is with the 4th overall pick. The problem is, I'm looking, and I think the guys that warrant a top 5 pick, at least at the tackle position, are Spencer Fano from Utah and Francis Mauigoa from Miami. But both of them are right tackles. And you're not going to move J.C. Latham back to the left side. You already tried that. Do you really want to bump those guys to the left side when it's not their natural position? Francis Mauigoa is primarily a right tackle. Spencer Fano at least has a little bit of experience at left tackle. He started 11 games at left tackle, but again, he's primarily a right tackle. So is that a move you want to make? That's not a move that I'm willing to make.
No, I agree. And I also would say you don't take either of those two guys. First off, I saw somebody, and it may have just been one person, but even one is probably too much if you're taking a tackle at 4. Cough, cough, Patriots. Somebody said Maui Noah profiles more at guard. And I was like, nope. And
who doesn't profile that way?
Why do all of the good offensive linemen coming out have short arms? Can we get somebody with like what's the stretchy super?
Do we need Mr. Fantastic to play left tackle? Play Is that what tackle. We need?
And then I think it was one of the main draft analysts. It might have been Daniel Jeremiah, but I'm blanking. Somebody said that they preferred Spencer Fano's teammate at the other tackle to him in this year's draft. So I don't think either of those guys are worth
Caleb Lomu.
Yeah.
He's really good. He's really good.
I don't think you can look at either of those two guys and say they're worth the 4th overall pick. I can see a world where if there was a can't miss tackle at the top of the draft that the Titans would consider it, but 2nd or 3rd round, it would not shock me in the least. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. When we come back, let's talk some college basketball. It is now officially just over 24 hours away from Vanderbilt and the Volunteers over there at Memorial Gym. And because we had TD in yesterday and spent most of the time on Titans, we didn't talk about that crazy game in Como on Wednesday night between Vanderbilt and Missouri. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the rivalry matchup on West End tomorrow coming up next. And don't forget, Andrew Allegretta, the voice of Vanderbilt football and baseball, will join us at 11 o'clock. We'll talk some Vandy boys baseball as they get ready for their first home weekend at Hawkins Field starting this afternoon. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on your Friday morning. Olympic hockey rolling along. Semifinals underway. Canada and Finland in the first one. It'll be the U.S. and Slovakia later on this afternoon. Second period just underway. Finland still leading Canada 1-0. So we'll keep an eye on that for you, let you know if anything changes. It honestly, while the segments are going on, Parker might have to be the one to let me know because this TV is behind me. Maybe I switch sides so I can watch this game.
I'm trying to keep up with it as best I can.
Andrew
They
Allegretta
just started the second period.
Yes, they did. They are 30 seconds in. Canada threatening, but it is 1-0 Finland, even on shots, 8-8. Andrew Allegretta from Vanderbilt Baseball will join us coming up at the top of the hour. The Vandy boys are 3-2 through the first 5 games of the season, so excited to talk with Andrew about Tim Corbin's bunch. They start a series against Marist this afternoon. You can listen in starting at 1:45 on 94.9 The Fan. But a big weekend for Vanderbilt basketball as well. Mark Byington and the men coming off a heartbreaking loss on the road against Missouri. Game they trailed by as many as 21 points. And it was funny, Parker. I was out. It was my fiance's birthday on Wednesday, so we went out to dinner. And I got back with about 8 minutes left in that game, and I saw it was pretty much over at that point, it looked like. But I was like, all right, I'll turn it on. And Vandy was making shot after shot after shot to get back into the game. And you get it back to 1 point with less than 2 seconds to go. Seems like it's over. And Tyler Tanner got about as close as you possibly could from half court to winning that game. Would have been miraculous. But another game for Vanderbilt, and we've seen this a couple of times this season. Slow start. They try and dig their way out of it, but just run out of time. We saw it against Oklahoma at home, a 1-point loss after trailing by 20. Did it again on Wednesday against Missouri out there in Como.
Yeah, and you remember I said, and it's going to be a tough challenge because Missouri has some size. They're a good team. I think they should be firmly in the field right now of 68. Lunardi has them, I believe, now as one of the last teams in the last 4 in.
They were the first team out pre that game.
So now they're in that last 4 in, that final
I'll
spot.
have to check. It was updated this morning.
Which I still can't wrap my mind around because I've seen Missouri play a couple times this year, and they're really good. So it was a tough road environment for Vandy. But yeah, the slow starts, I don't know how concerning that is because they happened against Oklahoma, and then they try to climb out of this hole. They trailed by 21, I think, 22 maybe against Missouri. Then they climbed themselves, and it was literally this close.
It was an inch.
This close.
An inch away from being one of the craziest finishes I think you've ever seen. Nickel hits the 3 to make it a 1-point game.
Right.
And I don't know what Missouri was thinking there. Basically, all you had to do was get the ball inbounded. Like, just touch it, and you give yourself a chance.
Man,
Tyler Tanner.
It was an insane inning. And the Oklahoma ending was kind of the same, but without the half-court theatrics. But, man, this game on Saturday, it just makes it all that much more important because Tennessee's won 7 out of their last 8, and their last 2 losses have come against the same team, Kentucky, in which they had double-digit leads blown in both. So now you're traveling to Memorial Gymnasium where you have struggled in recent years. And Vanderbilt is coming off of a loss against Missouri. So how are they going to respond? I think this game is shaping up to be pretty close to a classic tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Tomorrow afternoon, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, first of 2 meetings over the next 3 weeks. So these are big games for both these teams. Looking through the rest of the schedules, Vanderbilt still plays at Kentucky. That's another big-time game. But these are kind of the last couple chances for these teams to make an impression on the committee. When you're playing a fellow tournament team, Tennessee is currently a 5 seed, moved up by Joe Lunardi this morning. They are a 5 seed. Vanderbilt's also a 5 seed. So you're neck and neck in terms of these predictions, not just in the NCAA tournament, but also in the SEC standings. Right now, both those teams are right towards the top middle of the standings. I want to get exactly where they stand. I think Tennessee is a game up on Vanderbilt after the results on Wednesday night. So yes, Tennessee 9-4 currently is tied for second in the conference with Alabama and Arkansas. Vanderbilt 8-5 tied for 5th in the conference. And it's wild how close this is. Florida is 2 games clear of everybody else. So like that team is number 1, but Alabama all the way down to Texas, 2 through 9 are separated by 1 game. So every game is important down the stretch. Vanderbilt and Tennessee tomorrow is going to be big. And the big question for me, of course, is Duke Miles going to play?
The rumor is that he is.
That is kind of the smoke out there, is that he might be back tomorrow. I have no idea. And the availability reports come out around 7 tonight. So that's when we'll get the first idea. Anything but out would be great for Duke Miles. Even if it's questionable, like, hey, he's going to test it out in warmups and see if he can play. Just starting to get him close to getting back is going to be huge for Vanderbilt. Vandy's 8-5, 21-5 on the season. I think you could confidently say if Duke Miles was healthy, they probably are 2 wins better than where they are now. So it is going to, that honestly may be what this game tomorrow hinges on. Does Duke Miles play? If he does, I think Vanderbilt is in a much, much better spot, especially playing in
I would feel much more comfortable about Vandy's chances. I already do, since it's at home. I think this is basically comes down to a pick 'em and who has the home court advantage. So that's why I'm leaning Vanderbilt right now. But if you get Duke Miles back, that should make Vandy fans a lot more comfortable. I think Frankie Collins is not going to play the rest of the year.
It doesn't seem good with Frankie Collins, right? Like the rumors were that he was getting close, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, he's out for a little bit longer here. So I don't know about Frankie Collins. The rumors are Duke Miles could be coming back. And again, no information about that, just speculation based on some of the stuff circling around social media. And of course, you look at the line, and I heard Joe and Robbie, when they were doing Weekend Winners, talk about this. I think Vanderbilt's like a 3.5 point favorite. You could speculate that maybe that includes an estimate that Duke Miles might be back in uniform tomorrow.
By the way, Finland's up 2-0.
Finland up 2-0. It's right behind me. Like I can't even. Oh, and guess who? It was Eric Holla.
How about that?
How about it? Eric
Former
Holla.
Pred trying to knock Canada out.
Current Pred.
Did I say former? Current. I promise. I know Eric Holla's on the Preds. I promise.
2-0 Finland. 14.5 minutes to go, second period. Eric Holla with the breakaway goal. Wow. Awesome stuff. Canada on the ropes again. Still a long way to go. A lot of hockey left to play. But look at Eric Holla. 4 points in 4 games for one of Smashville's finest out there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will keep you updated on that game. If you're driving around, can't keep up, we will continue to try and give you score updates. 2-0 Finland, about 5 minutes in to the second period. We'll keep talking Vanderbilt and Tennessee when we come back as well. Big game of the weekend over there on Memorial at Memorial Gym on West End. We'll keep that conversation going. And the Lady Vols last night, because that was not good for Kim Caldwell and crew. We'll talk about that coming up next and wrap up hour number 2. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on your Friday morning, finishing up hour number 2. Tate McRae may have to make the transition to Team USA
That's why I'm
officially
playing it.
if Canada loses this game. Finland up 2-0 on Canada in this Olympic semifinal, first of 2 today. The U.S. taking on Slovakia shortly after 2 p.m. Central Time. 12 minutes to go, second period. 2-0 Finland. And again, it was Erik Haula who scored the second goal for Finland. Shorthanded. I didn't even realize it was shorthanded. We've been kind of looking back and forth. It was a shorty for Erik Haula on a breakaway. So 2-0 Finland, nearing the midway point of this game. We will continue to give you updates.
Adam, you see Saros out there.
Hey, you see Saros shutting out the All-Star team as of right now. I say that, and he'll probably give up a goal in the next 30 seconds. Adam in Portland says, if you listened on the early show, he predicted this. I did hear you call in, Adam, and say that Finland was going to win. And I am fully on board with Finland winning this game. As much as I want a U.S.-Canada gold medal game, the most important thing is that the U.S. needs to win the gold medal. And not playing Canada does help that. Best case scenario is the U.S. beats Canada to win it, but next best case is the U.S. beats anybody else to win it. So, and it would be cool. I mean, UC Saros and Erik Haula, they win this game, guaranteed at least silver medals coming back to Nashville. So that'd be a lot of fun. We'll keep an eye on this game. But getting ready for the big game here in Nashville tomorrow, Tennessee and Vanderbilt at Memorial Gym. Excited for this one. And Parker, I wanted to ask you, who do you think needs this game more? Both these teams are in pretty comfortable tournament spots. Like, I don't think either of these teams is at risk of missing the NCAA tournament. But in terms of seeding, in terms of momentum, who do you think needs this game more?
That's tough because I've listened to Rick Barnes talk about it all week, how they kind of need a signature win down the stretch because they're on a little bit of a hot streak, but it's not like you're going out and you're beating, the Houstons and the Arizonas, every night. So I think that you need a signature win down the stretch if you're Tennessee, but also at the same time that I say this, Vanderbilt is coming off of a loss. And they started off so hot, but have had points once you got to SEC play in which you've struggled. So both sides need it. I would say Tennessee, in terms of seeding, probably needs it just a little bit more.
I'm going to go with Vanderbilt needs this game more, and mostly because the game's at home. And I think if you had to guess, these teams are going to split their two matchups. They're similarly talented teams. I think it's pretty safe to say you probably get one win out of both. That's why Vanderbilt needs to defend Memorial Gym tomorrow. You've got to be able to win at home and put the pressure back on Tennessee at the end of the year when you head there. And at that point, Vanderbilt, I think, would feel pretty good of like, all right, we defended our home court. We're playing free going out there to Knoxville. But if Vanderbilt loses this game tomorrow, you lose at Kentucky, then you might be heading to Tennessee saying, all right, well, we got to make sure we get a bye past the first round of the SEC tournament. We want to keep ourselves towards that 4 or 5 line where you're in a good spot to get to the Sweet 16. This is a big game for Vanderbilt. And again, that's why no information here, but just guessing, like Duke Miles coming back, it would make sense for them to have tried to ramp him up for this one just because of how important it is for both teams, a rivalry matchup. And you're right. Both teams kind of need that signature win to push themselves up towards the top of the SEC, maybe move them up a seed line. And I think a game like this would be that for both Tennessee and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, no, and this is you got to be able to defend your home court as well. I think the ceiling for both of these teams is Sweet 16. I don't see either of them making a run to the Elite Eight or even the Final Four. But for Vanderbilt too, I think they're a completely different team with Duke Miles and when they're healthy. So I could go either way, but I think Tennessee, in terms of confidence, you have Nate Ament, who's playing the most confident basketball I've seen since he arrived on campus in Knoxville. So if you want to boost that confidence a little further and kind of extend that to
Yeah.
everyone else, you go and you get a win in Memorial Gymnasium tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I said earlier in the week, I felt like Vandy might have an Elite Eight ceiling. And there was one texter who was like laughing yesterday on the text line. We never got to basketball, but it was like Vandy, an Elite Eight team. LOL. I never said they are an Elite Eight team. I said that's their ceiling. And honestly, I think I stand by it. That's a team, when healthy, they can beat anybody on any given night. They are that talented. They are that explosive offensively when they have everybody playing. So I would say ceiling of Elite Eight is legitimate, but that doesn't mean they're going to get there. They still have to win those games. I would say for Vandy, I feel like ceiling is Elite Eight, floor probably round of 64. Like there's a chance you get upset in the first round. For Tennessee, I'd say Sweet 16 is the ceiling. But would it shock me if they got to the Elite Eight? No. I see Vanderbilt's style of play giving them a better chance if they go up against one of those 1 or 2 seeds at the very top of college basketball. So big one tomorrow, Vanderbilt and Tennessee, first of 2 meetings. First one is in Memorial Gym right here in Nashville. And then Vandy finishes the season with 3 straight road games at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, and then at Tennessee the Saturday before the SEC tournament. Officer Watson on the text line says, are y'all watching Saros out of his mind right now? Yeah, UC's playing really, really well in this game. If Finland wins this game, you could honestly say the Predators were the ones who made it happen. Eric Holla, UC Saros.
I guess you could say that.
How about that?
Did you think we'd be saying that at the start of the Olympics?
I don't know, but it's fun to watch nonetheless.
There's still time.
Yeah,
don't get too comfortable yet. Don't get comfortable yet.
I left the studio on Wednesday feeling like there was a chance Canada was going to lose. It was just after Czechia scored that goal when they had 6 guys on the ice to go up 3-2. And literally by the time I got to the Donaldson Pike light, it was already 3-3. And then like 2 minutes later, Canada won in overtime. So I'm not getting ahead of ourselves here, but it is 2-0 Finland with 9 minutes to go in the second period. Quickly before we wrap up hour number 2, tough loss last night for the Lady Vols against Texas A&M. That is not a good Aggies team. Now, it's an Aggies team that has shown they are capable of beating tournament-type teams. They beat Alabama on Super Bowl Sunday. But that game against Tennessee was not all that competitive last night. Until the very end, Tennessee made a run, got it within 4. But I'm looking at this team, and if it wasn't for the metrics holding Kim Caldwell's bunch up, I think they're top 20 in the net, and they are top 20 in RPI too, I want to say. Like, the numbers are holding them up. But this team is 16-9, and their last 3 games are against Oklahoma on the road, LSU on the road, then Vanderbilt in Knoxville. There's a very good chance that they go 16-12, and their best win would be Kentucky at home. I think they'd make the tournament. I do, because of the metrics holding them up. But I don't know if it would be deservingly making the tournament. I also think because Tennessee has made the tournament every year since the tournament started, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt if it's close. But, man, things have spiraled quickly for Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols.
I remember having concern when this was before Kim Caldwell called out her team, but I think it was after the UConn game. I really started to I really like Kim Caldwell. I think she's about the right stuff, but her system of subbing 5 in, 5 out, how is that going to be sustainable?
Yeah.
How is that going to work? And now they have 3 losses in a row. You're 16-9, and then your upcoming schedule, you're at Oklahoma, you're at LSU, and then you close things with Vanderbilt. And to be honest, I think they lose out.
It's 3 of the top 11 teams in the country.
Yeah.
2 of them are on the road.
This is not there are blinking red lights all over the place with the Lady Vols right now. And I'm very concerned.
Kim Caldwell said it yesterday that the the schedule didn't do them any favors having to replay that postponed game against Ole Miss on Tuesday. You have to have a day off. Like, that is NCAA rule. You have to have a day off. So they were prepping for their Tuesday game Monday, prepping for their Thursday game Wednesday. So today has to be a day off for Tennessee, meaning they only get 1 day of prep and travel to Norman tomorrow. So things are not good over there for the Lady Vols. We'll see if they can get it turned around. There's certainly talent over there, but not looking good as we head down the stretch of the women's college basketball season. The Vandy woman off last night, back in action on Sunday against Kentucky, 3 p.m. tip over there at Memorial Gym. Would love to have you out there. Second to last chance to see the Vanderbilt woman play at home until the tournament. I would fully expect there will be tournament games in Memorial, but second to last regular season game, and it is senior day as well. So you can come out and cheer on some of those seniors. Sasha Washington has played 5 years at Vanderbilt, so good to see her getting honored. And of course, Justine Passat, Jada Brown, and our guest yesterday on the show, Jack Alengam Wenentanda, will all be honored pregame, 3 o'clock on Sunday against Kentucky. Coming up next, we will talk Vandy baseball with Andrew Allegretta, the voice of the Vandy boys. 5 games in for Vanderbilt baseball. They are 3-2, starting a series this afternoon against Marist. We'll talk to Andrew Allegretta when we come back. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Friday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We start our third and final hour by going to the phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Andrew Allegretta, the voice of Vanderbilt baseball, joins us now. Andrew, thanks for coming on. It's been a fun season to start so far, especially a couple of run rule wins on Tuesday and Wednesday.
It's been good so far, Jake. It's been odd. We've played 5 games and only one of them has gone 9 innings.
Yes, that is strange. It's just the 5-4 game against TCU, right? The last 4 have been run rules.
Yeah, run rule versus Texas Tech, run rule in the opposite direction versus Oklahoma State, and then the 2 versus Eastern Michigan.
Very strange start to the season, including a 7-inning no-hitter for you on Wednesday, despite giving up 2 runs. Was that one of the stranger no-hitters you've gotten to call? I know you've had a few.
I would say it's the strangest. It's, I'm not gonna minimize a no-hitter. Like if a pitching staff throws,
for sure,
however many innings and they don't give up a hit, that's an accomplishment. Is it the same thing as what Rocker did or what Leiter did? No. Is it the same thing that McIlvain and Little did versus Kentucky on the road? Not really. But that's okay, right? Like that's a big deal for those guys, and you make note of those, and that's still an accomplishment whether you do that in 7 innings or 9 innings. And baseball is full of stats and asterisks and all of that sort of stuff. So if you feel the need to kind of put a caveat next to it, that's fine. But it's definitely a cool moment for those guys.
Definitely. It was cool to see on Wednesday. And I think the biggest impression that you can take from the start to this season has been the bats. Tied for the nation's lead in home runs as a team with 16 through 5 games. Who have you seen step up the most in terms of the offense? And how great is it to see these guys getting the ball out of the yard consistently early on in the year?
It's been a lot of fun for sure. For baseball fans in Nashville, I would certainly point your attention to Brody Johnston. Start there. He's got 5 home runs. I think that's either first or tied first in the country. He's been, incredible. He was really good last season. He was the SEC tournament MVP, hit a home run in the championship game versus Ole Miss, and he looks every bit of the part of Vanderbilt's next first-round MLB draft pick when he's eligible, not this season, but next season. So he's a kid from Ottawa, Tennessee. So if you're from the mid-state, I certainly would point your attention to Brody Johnston. He's a fun one to watch. He plays third base, can play shortstop, just prototypical in a lot of different ways, and has really grown and evolved as a hitter too. I've talked about that with Corb some. So that's awesome to see. Fun performance for Colin Barzy. That's a name to know. That's a guy that with his performance this year could also play himself in the first, second, or third round of the MLB draft this season. He's a junior from outside of Chicago. Had a 3 home run performance versus TCU to open the season in Globe Life. I think he had like a grand total of 1,300 feet worth of home runs. Like the last one in the 9th inning went 450 feet. He's really strong. He's a catcher. He's going to be a really important part of our lineup. So those are a couple of names to know for baseball fans around here right off the bat would be Brody Johnston and Colin Barzy. But there's others. There's Braden Holcomb. Tommy Gooden's got a couple of home runs. Riker Waite is a really fun guy to watch. He's got 2 home runs and a grand slam. He's a shortstop. He stands, 5'8", 5'9". Comes from Arizona. Gets the Dustin Pedroia comp a little bit for those that like baseball back in the day with the Red Sox. So there's some names to follow right there.
We're talking with voice of the Vandy Boys, Andrew Allegretta. Andrew, I know baseball can sometimes be a weird sport, and especially, to kick off the year, you're still trying to figure out different things with your lineup and all of that. But what went wrong for the Vandy Boys out at the Shriners, specifically against TCU and Oklahoma State?
I would probably hedge a little bit that things went wrong. And to your point, baseball is a weird sport. There's 60 some odd games here in college. For this group of Vanderbilt baseball players, like they're kind of figuring out their spots. They're kind of figuring out this group of the Vandy Boys. TCU is a team that very much could win a national championship. And if it wasn't for one throwing error in the 8th inning on a drop third strike, they probably could have gotten out of there with a victory. The game versus Oklahoma State That one's a little bit harder to figure out, and that's okay. The pitcher for Oklahoma State was really good. Like, he had a wicked curveball that was just kind of dropping at the bottom part of the zone perfectly for strikes, and Vanderbilt was kind of in between pitches, and those days happen, and the bullpen wasn't as crisp on the third day of a weekend as perhaps you would like it to be. So I don't know that there's any gigantic red flag coming out of those first couple of games. You missed an opportunity versus TCU. That would have been a huge resume boost come, not to already talk about May and June, but that would have been a really good one to have in your back pocket. I don't know that anything went gigantically wrong. I think they're kind of figuring out roles. They made a couple of defensive mistakes, and, you know, in a landscape of college baseball where a lot of teams don't play elevated competition on the opening weekend, Vanderbilt went out and played elevated competition against the Big 12, specifically TCU, who can win a national championship, and Oklahoma State that could challenge for Omaha. So, you know, you had one really bad day versus Oklahoma State. Outside of that, I thought they looked pretty okay.
And I had the opportunity to kind of hang out with pitcher Alex Kranzler a little bit over the course of the offseason. I know he has a couple appearances early on this season. What do you see his role being this year?
I don't know. That's going to be fun. Kranzler's awesome. One, because he's a good dude, and two, because he throws more pitches on our pitching staff than anybody. I'd have to pull up the list, but I think he's got 7 or 8 different pitches. And, like, maybe if he feels like adding a 9th, he probably could. I mean, he's got, like, you know, the fastballs, the cutters, the changeups, the curveballs, the splitters, the sweepers, all of that sort of stuff. He's really, really a fun guy to be around because he thinks about pitching at a high level. What exactly that role is, that's going to be interesting. He's definitely going to be a bullpen guy for Vanderbilt, but I would suspect, because he's a junior, because he's been in some pretty significant spots before, that more likely than not, whether it's the 7th, 8th, or 9th innings, he's probably going to be a high leverage guy. I will say, you know, Vanderbilt's pitching staff doesn't think about their staff like Brownie and Tyler Herb and Corbin don't think about their staff in the same way. That it's not that they don't want a closer. It's not that they don't want the prototypical setup man. It's just that they're out here trying to collect outs. They've got 27 outs to deal with, and however they get to those 27 outs is great. They're not going to just slot somebody in as the closer and say that's that. That sort of stuff kind of develops throughout the course of the year, but I would expect Alex Kranzler, the junior, to be kind of a high leverage guy.
Talking with Andrew Allegretto, voice of Vanderbilt baseball, and you mentioned pitching, Andrew. A new look rotation led by Connor Fennell. What were your impressions of your first look at those 3 last weekend? What can we maybe expect in their second starts of the year against Marist this weekend?
I'd expect they do pretty good versus Marist, but we'll see. You never know. I love Fennell.
He's so much fun to watch.
He's so much fun. I hope people get a chance to watch him throw. Like, he's the Friday night guy for Vanderbilt baseball, and he's going to top out at like 91, 92, and maybe sit closer to 89 to 90. And he does it because he's an elite competitor to some extent, without putting too much pressure on Fennell or over exaggerating the comparison. He is the baseball version of Diego Pavia, right? Like, Diego is ultra competitive. He will do anything to get the victory. And despite the fact of a perceived deficiency, you know, for Diego, it's his height. For Fennell, it's his lack of velocity. They find ways to just get the job done. Somebody quoted Fennell, or someone in Fennell's orbit. I think The Athletic had a piece that basically said Fennell hates hitters. And it's true. Like, if he's on the mound, he just hates them. And it's a great attitude to have. He throws 90 and he thinks he's throwing 105 and he's going to burn it past you. Now, there's some in the weeds stuff about, you know, the way that he releases the baseball, how far he releases the baseball toward home plate that make him difficult. But he's so much fun to watch. I think the rotation should be fine. I think there will be some bumps because you've got Austin Nye, who's super talented, but he's a sophomore. And you've got Nate Taylor, who's super talented, but he's a sophomore that didn't pitch very much last year versus Georgia. I think they'll be good, but I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, every now and then there's a hiccup and the bullpen has to step up.
Yeah, with Connor Fennell, you need the opposite of a pitch clock on him because he is going to step up there and be ready to pitch. Well, he's going to throw strikes too.
We joked a little bit, Jake, but like, there's the Fennell rule, and this is very real. Like Fennell threw so fast. He got the ball and threw so quickly. He was so disorienting toward hitters that they made an adjustment to the pitch clock rule in the offseason. Like it used to be that as soon as a hitter looked up and made eye contact with the pitcher could throw. The adjustment is a hitter must look up and have his hands back and ready to hit. Fennell was so disorienting that they had to kind of shift the advantage back to the hitters after a lot of conversation in the offseason. So yeah, he's that guy.
It was so funny. Last year, I called one of the games on SEC Network. It might have been Tennessee Tech. And he came in and we were doing an interview during that inning and we couldn't get any questions in because he worked so quickly. The inning was over in like 90 seconds. He's a lot of fun to watch and he's pitching this afternoon, correct?
He sure is. 2 p.m. first pitch today.
Perfect. We are excited for that coming up in just a couple of hours. 1:45 pregame on 94.9 The Fan, and you can listen in with Andrew there. Andrew, appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to do it again soon.
As always, Jake.
Andrew Allegretta joining us from Vanderbilt Baseball. The Vandy boys starting off their first home weekend series today against Marist. They'll play 3 games against Marist this weekend. We'll talk a little bit of Vandy boys when we come back. Also, an update on Finland and Canada as they're heading to the third period in the Olympic semifinals. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.